What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Luttie's Look Back, episode number 27. Man, what a brutal way for the season to come to an end for the Razorbacks. They blow a 16-point lead in the second half and fall to Texas Tech in the Sweet 16. We'll talk Arkansas basketball, a little bit of baseball later on in the show. It'll be a little bit of a shorter show today, talking about Razorback basketball and baseball. But man, we got to start with this basketball team and how tough of a loss it is. Not reflective of the season for Arkansas and the season that they had, especially to start 0-5 in conference play, to come back from where they were, to deal with all the injuries, and to make it to the Sweet 16. There's certainly a lot for this team to be proud of, but I think it's still left a little bit of a sour taste in everyone's mouth to lose to a team that you felt like you were better than. You watch that game, you watch it, and you can't tell me that Arkansas wasn't the better team in that game. And Texas Tech, they almost beat Florida on Saturday to advance to the Final Four. That just makes it that more infuriating. And Florida did end up winning. They came back and defeated the Red Raiders to advance to the Final Four. But man, what a disappointing loss for Arkansas. But again, not a disappointing season. In my opinion, not a disappointing season for the Razorbacks. Tyler Cass was in San Francisco, our sports director, and he has more on the season that it was for the Razorbacks.
Being a sports fan, and an Arkansas one in particular, requires a certain willing suspension of disbelief. Fandom asks you to forget what you've seen before, forget what you really know is going to happen, and forget that pain that seems like some kind of genetic trait passed down in the Ozarks. Finding that voice that says this year will be different, willingly suspending that disbelief, is essential. And that's not just for the ever-suffering fan. Maybe no one outside the Arkansas locker room was doing any believing in January, but the Hogs sure were. It's that belief in themselves that got them here, to a place where they've experienced enough real joy to earn this level of hurt.
Well, they wrote their own story. They didn't let somebody else write it. They wrote it.
Fought through a lot of adversity. We went through a lot of ups and downs, but in the end, we kept fighting.
We were all in a place where it was like, man, we weren't playing the way we wanted to, or things weren't going the way we wanted to. We just kept fighting it.
This year, especially, what we've been through, it meant a lot. It meant a lot. We all love each other here.
Now, I've had teams that were better and finished better and national champions and all that stuff. This was a different reward.
There are hundreds of teams and fan bases that start the year with some belief, then 68, then 32, then 16. Through their belief, the Hogs were able to feel more joy than all but 15 other teams in the country, and more pain than all but 7. Just one program each year misses out on that pain, and the odds say it won't be yours. But you have to be willing to suspend that disbelief, say 8,981 feet across a bay, in order to keep going, in order to feel that joy along the journey and give yourself a chance at being that one that's left standing at the end. For the Hogs, maybe that's next year, but for now, we're all headed back to Arkansas. In San Francisco, Tyler Cass, THV 11 Sports.
All right, Tyler, thanks so much. Tyler is now back in Arkansas, safely back home from San Francisco, so that is all good news there. But, man, you just heard a little bit of it there. You got a piece of just the how disappointing it was for those players, for Coach Cal to lose like that, for the season to end like that. But just think about what this team has been through. And I mentioned a little bit a few minutes ago. You start out, when Coach Cal gets here, let's start about a year ago, we didn't know what was going on with this basketball program. Eric Musselman was out the door. Arkansas didn't have a head coach. They tried to get Chris Beard and a lot of other guys. Everyone thought it was going to be a terrible season. The program seemed to be in shambles. And then somehow, some way, you get Coach Calipari as your head coach. All right, so I know all Arkansas fans are in a little bit of a, this is bad right now, I'm so sad. But it can't be like that fully if you think and you reflect on what this was like a year ago and where they are now, where this program is now. It is worlds better than where it was a year ago. You think about even when Coach Cal took over, he had no team, he had no schedule. Arkansas started 0-5 in SEC play. They had injuries. Adu Thiero was out for a while. Boogie Fland was out for a while. Nelly Davis fell off a golf cart and hurt his wrist. Like, how does that happen? And he gets back and plays the way Nelly Davis should play in the later half of the season. Jonas Adu was out for like 2 months or 3 months in the offseason with a lower body injury. Big Z somehow always deal with some injuries. Billy Richmond was cramping like every other game, it felt like. This team dealt with injuries. but they were resilient. And that's what I want to talk about before we move on to baseball here. I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from this basketball season for the Razorbacks. And let's start with the good, right? Let's be optimistic. Let's talk about the positives. This team was resilient. This team showed toughness and effort no matter what. Even when they were down 0-5 in the SEC. It wasn't just 0-5. I know that's the record I like to point out. They were 1-6 as well, which is also not good. They were 1-6 heading into that game when Coach Cal's returned to Lexington, when everything changed, when Coach Calipari completely changed this Razorback team when he walked into his former arena, knocked off the Wildcats, and then since then, this was a pretty good basketball team. This was a team that was worthy of making it to the Sweet 16. They were a 10-seed in the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't like, oh, they're a big Cinderella team. They've rattled off a few good games and they've made it here. No, they were worthy of making it to the Sweet 16. They were worthy of making it to the Elite 8. Again, they were the better team. I don't want to reflect on that too much. I want to move past it. The good from this season, this team was resilient. They showed resiliency. They showed progression and improvement. Individual players showed that as well. Now, it's partly with injuries. As these guys got more healthy, they got better. And I talked about that earlier. Nelly Davis, how much did he improve throughout the season? Again, as his wrist improved, he shot the ball better. That makes sense. Jonas Aidoo, as his lower body injury improved, he got better. Think about it. At the beginning of the conference season, Jonas Aidoo was maybe the worst transfer portal pickup for the Razorbacks. He was doing nothing. He was playing a few minutes a game. He was just a body out there. And then his last, I think he still ended up averaging under a single-digit points per game and rebounds. And then his last 6 or 7 games as a Razorback, man, give him credit for what he fought through physically and mentally to be the type of player he was down the stretch to get Arkansas as far as they got. So major props to Jonas Aidoo, to Nelly Davis, 2 guys that won't be back for next season as they've exhausted their eligibility. Trevin Brazile, how much did he improve, right? He improved for this team, especially his three-point shooting. He became a corner 3 specialist. That was something he never had with the Razorbacks. He became a corner 3 specialist, made a lot of three-pointers, and became the Trevin Brazile of old for a lot of these games, which was a really fun thing to see. DJ Wagner sort of improved. I know he didn't have a great game or two down the stretch in March Madness, but man, he really improved, especially without Boogie Fland. Once Boogie Fland got hurt, Wagner filled that role as point guard and really made this team better. Took on that team leadership only as a sophomore, took on that leadership mantra, getting the ball, taking it, pushing it, moving in fast break. He improved as well. All these guys improved. That's the good. The bad of this team. Let's talk about the bad. I don't want to harp on it too long, but I do want to talk about it. And it's what happened in this last game. It's closing out games. There was multiple times Arkansas had big leads throughout the season, and they couldn't close it out. Double-digit leads. They were up by 16 against Texas Tech, and they didn't win. And that's happened multiple times. The flip side of that, they were down by double digits multiple times. Think about the Alabama game. That game seemed to be over. It looked like they were going to lose by 30. And then they came back, didn't win, but they came back and gave the Crimson Tide a really good fight. But they struggled to hold on to a lead throughout the times this season. So that's something I want to see improved for next season. That's not I don't know how much that is on the players or how much it is on the coach. It's hard to put a lot of blame on Coach Cal, at this point. Me getting to see everything he's done to help this team improve. I don't put a lot of blame on Coach Cal, but that's one of the things I want to see improve going into next season. And then I also think the bad, I got to say Big Z, Zvonimir Ivisic. Unreliable is probably what I'd call him. And he's the only player I got to call out specifically because of his unreliability, his inconsistency. He had some crazy games, and I mentioned that Alabama game, crazy game where he went off and made some crazy three-pointers. But then after that stretch, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. So I'm curious to see if he'll be coming back for next season. That's kind of the bad for this season. The ugly was the start to SEC play, 0-5. Now you have losses. The first 3 losses, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, all Elite 8 teams. So those aren't bad losses. But then you lose to LSU, very bad loss. That's an ugly loss. To Missouri, not too bad. But to start the SEC play, that was the ugly. That really set back this team. Even though they recovered from that, think about if they didn't start out 0-5. If they started out 2-3 or 3-2, things could have looked a little bit differently down the stretch. They could have got a better seed in the NCAA tournament. Things might have changed a little bit there. The ugly also is three-point shooting. Wasn't great throughout the season. It improved, certainly, but that was certainly a negative, a weakness that Arkansas was not very good at this season. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly from this season. Let's briefly talk about next season. I want to put up the roster behind me. We're going to show this graphic every week on Luttie's Look Back, probably for the next month or two, because this is going to change a lot. You see the players that are coming back next season, or that are, I should say this, returning, question mark. That's why I put a question mark there. None of these guys have announced if they're returning. We're just going to assume right now that they're coming back next season. Two guys we know can't, Nelly Davis and Jonas Adu, as I said, exhausted their eligibility, won't be back for next season. And you see some of the incoming freshmen, the 3 freshmen, 2 of them are really good for this Razorback squad that will be here next season, and they got an international player that will also be back. I want to take this full, so let's go to the next thing so you can see a little bit of a clearer picture. Who's departing? Got the 2 guys I mentioned. Who's returning possibly, and who's incoming for this Razorback basketball team. A lot to look at with that. And again, we'll talk about this as the months, as the weeks and possibly month or 2 goes on. This will change drastically a week from now. But as of this recording, this is who is expected to depart, return, and be an incoming player on this Razorback basketball team. That's enough basketball talk. Let's go to baseball now. What a weekend for the Diamond Hogs. A series win at Vanderbilt for the first time since 2015, and let's talk about it. Friday, 9-0 win over Vanderbilt. Looked like studs out there. Saturday, 6-4 win, not as pretty, but did it in extra innings and did it in an impressive way. Back-to-back squeeze bunts. Safety squeezes in the 10th inning to give him a win, including Cam Kojual, and he was really good in this game. The hitting, the bats got going. They've been really good. They continued against a really good Vanderbilt team, a top 15 ranked Vanderbilt team. The bats continued to get going, which really impressed me out of this baseball team. Cam Kojual, 2 home runs on Friday. The former Vanderbilt Commodore, you see him behind me, 2 homers on Friday, another one on Saturday, had those squeeze bunts as well. He played sensational in this game. He had 3 home runs all of last season at Vanderbilt in Nashville when he played for the Commodores. He played a lot. He was a starter. And now in his return to Vanderbilt, he hits 3 in the span of 2 days. So I think that's pretty impressive. You think it meant something a little bit extra to him. The hitting was great. Logan Maxwell played good. Brent Iredale pretty good as well. Charles Davalon had some great hits, had a homer or 2. Justin Thomas Jr., the center fielder, also had a couple homers. I mean, this team can hit. They can play. They can also field. Vaheva Aloy didn't have the best weekend hitting, but fielding, really impressive. Pitching. Lastly, pitching was really great as well. Zach Root on Friday, 7 1/3, 7 strikeouts. Gabe Gackel, he was better in his start on Saturday. Aiden Jimenez was really good. So it's great to see Arkansas, obviously. From a fan perspective, after basketball just ended the way it did, for the baseball team to be playing this good is a really good sight to see. So those are a little bit of my thoughts. Let's hear what Dave Van Horn had to say after a series win against Vanderbilt.
Have an opportunity to sweep a team like Vanderbilt on the road. I think they've been done for a long time. I don't know if during Tim's time here, we found a way to do it. Just kept the game close. We kept thinking if we can just keep this thing close, we can get them late, and we did it. You know, Charles Davalon had a great day, 3 RBIs, and some production from the end of the order. It was really good again, and because we had a couple of our better hitters. Didn't hit a whole lot here this weekend, but we had some of the guys that, have, come through here and there, maybe don't have as high batting average or whatever. And they really chipped in this weekend and again today.
All right, on to softball now briefly before we wrap up. As I mentioned, it'll be a little bit of a quicker show today. Arkansas softball also looking really good, getting the series win as well against Kentucky. A 5-3 win on Friday, a 10-2 run rule win on Saturday, and then a 2-1 win. It's a sweep against Kentucky. So good to see the softball team and Courtney Deifel doing well. That run rule victory on Saturday, it's the most run rule victories they've had in program history, and they're like 3 SEC series into the year. So really impressive what Arkansas softball has been able to do. Let's quickly hear from Courtney Deifel after the series win.
I have a ton of confidence in our team. When you know how to win differently, when you can win those close ones, when you can win and separate yourselves a little bit, when you could stay the course today, I was really impressed with our team because it just didn't necessarily click for us. I think we pressed a little bit, but we stayed the course defensively and let us put ourselves in a position where we could get that hit. Ella came up big with that big hit, and so it's huge. It's huge to win one-run games. It's shows a lot of character, and to win, sweeping a one-run game, there's so many big things. I'm just really impressed and really proud of the team.
All right, so once again, good to hear the softball team and baseball teams are doing well. Again, from a fan perspective, that's all you want to see, is that these other programs are playing good when basketball just had a little bit of a sour end to the season. As I mentioned, a little bit of a shorter show, but thanks so much, everybody, for watching Luttie's Look Back episode number 27. We'll see you same place, same time next week for even more talk about Arkansas sports.